In the year 2287, Earth was no longer the only home for humans. After decades of silent work and risk, humans had finally learned how to travel through the deep folds of space. It wasn't perfect, but it was enough to reach further, faster. With that came both hope and fear. The war started without warning. No message, no sound, just light. Bright, burning light falling from the sky like a broken star. Cities in orbit went dark. Stations near Jupiter vanished in minutes. At first, people thought it was a system failure. But soon, they saw it wasn't. Something out there had found them. And it didn't come in peace. The Earth government called it the contact. But in whispers, soldiers and scientists called it the cold arrival. There were no faces, no names. Only machines that moved like shadows. They struck with precision, erased data, destroyed satellites, and disappeared. It was like they knew where to look, what to hit, and what to leave. Like someone had told them. Humans tried to fight back. But the weapons they had built for other humans were too slow, too weak, or too loud. Ships were lost. Colonies fell silent. The fear grew faster than the news. People stopped asking who they were. They only asked how much time was left. In the middle of all this chaos, a research ship named Stellar Wind was traveling along the outer rim of the Tau Ceti system. It was meant to study strange gravitational waves that had been reported months ago. It was not a warship. It carried no missiles. Only data scanners, basic defense, and a crew of scientists. One of them was Dr. Alias Kern, a biologist who had spent the last 12 years studying non-human life patterns on uncolonized planets. He had no interest in wars or politics. All he cared about was life, how it worked, where it could exist, and what it meant to be aware. The crew had just finished scanning a small moon when the systems detected something strange. A signal soft, regular, and almost ... rhythmic. It wasn't human, and it wasn't machine, but it was clear. Could be a false echo, said the pilot. These systems glitch sometimes near asteroid fields, but Elias was already looking deeper. He had a feeling. The signal had a shape like breath or a heartbeat. Something alive. They followed it. The source came from inside an asteroid cave, completely hidden by magnetic fields. The ship sent a small drone inside. It took one photo before it was cut. Off. The image showed something impossible. A figure, humanoid, female, glowing faintly blue, kneeling. No spacesuit, no wires. Just ... watching. Most of the crew thought it was an illusion or a trick caused by the cave's minerals. But Elias disagreed. He looked at the photo again and again. Her eyes were open. That night, Elias couldn't sleep. The face haunted him. It wasn't fear, it wasn't shock. It was something else. Curiosity, maybe. A silent voice asking for something he couldn't hear. The next morning, against the captain's advice, Elias prepared to enter the cave himself. "This is not safe," the captain said. "We don't even know what that thing is." "It looked at the drone," Elias replied. "It didn't attack. It waited. It's still waiting." He wore a light exosuit and carried only a scanner and a communication link. No weapon. As he entered the cave, he felt the air grow colder, heavier, but not dead. It was like stepping into a place that had been asleep for a very long time. The deeper he went, the quieter everything became. Even his own breathing felt distant. Then he saw her. She was there, exactly like the image. Still kneeling, still glowing, and still watching him. He raised his hand slowly, not in greeting. Not in warning, just ... to show he was real. She didn't move. But something changed in her eyes. They widened not in fear, but in surprise, like she wasn't supposed to be seen. And then she stood. Elias froze. The light around her grew brighter, Not blinding, just clear. Her body was slim, almost human. But her skin shimmered like water. Under sunlight, her eyes were silver, but deep. Deep like time itself. And then, without speaking, she stepped forward. Elias opened his mouth, but the words failed. He had too many questions, and yet none that felt right. She looked at him for a moment longer. Then, as if hearing something he couldn't, she turned away and disappeared into the darkness. The signal stopped. Back on the ship, everything returned to normal. Systems restored. Communication lines cleared. But the cave was now empty. The figure was gone. No one believed Elias. They thought he imagined it. Maybe stress. Maybe isolation. But he knew. She had been there, and she had seen him. Importantly, she had let him see her. That meant something, and deep inside, Elias understood. This was no ordinary war. It was about something much older, and he was now a part of it. For days, Elias said nothing. The crew returned to their research tasks, pretending the event in the cave never happened. The captain filed it as a false signal and removed it from the official log. But Elias couldn't forget her eyes. The silence between them. The feeling that she knew something humans were not meant to know yet. He stayed in his lab longer than usual, replaying the drone footage, examining energy scans from the cave, checking radiation levels. All normal. Too normal. As if something had cleaned up the evidence. One night he heard a faint sound in the hallway outside his cabin. A soft vibration, like someone humming a song with no melody. When he stepped out, there was nothing there. Only silence and a drop of clear liquid on the metal floor, glowing faintly blue. Elias bent down. The glow faded in seconds. He knew. She had been there. Across the galaxy, Earth's military had started fighting back. They had developed new weapons using quantum disruption. These weapons could scramble the enemy machines for a few seconds, just enough time to damage them. But the machines adapted fast. Every battle became more costly. Entire fleets vanished, without leaving debris. Scientists called them phase strikers, machines that move through space and time like wind through a cracked wall. Back on stellar wind, the crew received orders to return to Earth orbit for debrief. Their ship was slow and the journey would take 18 days. The captain wasn't happy. We're wasting time flying back when the war needs real ships. But Elias felt uneasy. The cave, the figure, the blue light, it all pointed to something deeper. Not machine, not human. Something in between. During the trip, the ship passed close to an uncharted region near the edge of the Delta IV sector. A dense magnetic field surrounded the area. Most scanners failed to read anything inside. The captain planned to avoid it. But late one night, a new signal appeared. It wasn't a warning. It wasn't an attack. It was a simple repeating sound, soft pulses, like footsteps in a long hallway. Elias recognized the pattern. Not exactly the same as the one from the cave, but close. He rushed to the bridge. "That's her," he said. The captain frowned. "There's no proof of that, and we're under strict route control." "She's trying to talk," Elias insisted. "We have to go in. You want me to fly this ship into a blind zone during wartime because of a pulse?" Elias paused. "I think she knows something about the machines, about this war, about us." The captain didn't agree, but he was tired of arguing. And deep down, maybe he was also curious. They adjusted course and entered the field. Immediately, the stars outside the window blurred. Time slowed. Lights flickered. The crew felt pressure inside their heads, like 1,000 whispers speaking. At once, then silence, and something appeared. Not a ship. Not a structure. Just a presence. Floating in space. Like a tear in reality. It shimmered in shapes they couldn't describe, colors they couldn't name. A low hum filled the ship. Not painful, but ancient. Alive. The systems crashed for 6 seconds, then came back. All screens showed one word. Observed. No one knew who sent it. Suddenly, a burst of light shot across the darkness. Not from the shimmer, but from behind them. A phase striker had followed. It fired. The ship shook. Emergency lights flashed. Shields dropped. A captain shouted commands, but it was too fast. Then something happened. The shimmer moved. A wave of soft light spread outward. The enemy machine froze, not exploded, just stopped, as if someone had pressed pause on time. Its lights dimmed. Its body collapsed inward, vanishing into itself like smoke. The shimmer pulsed once more, then slowly faded, and with it, a message appeared on the main screen. This time, not a single word. You are seen. Be careful what sees back. Elias stood. Still, no one spoke. Even the captain had no words. The ship turned and left the magnetic field. Once they were clear, normal space returned. No one explained what they saw. No one filed a report, but Elias knew. The figure from the cave hadn't been a ghost or a trick. She had been watching something, and now, that something had seen them. This war wasn't just between humans and machines. It was much bigger. And they had just stepped into it. The crew of Stellar Wind spoke little after they left the shimmer. No one could explain what had happened, and no one wanted to. The image of the machine freezing mid-attack and folding into nothing stayed in their minds like a cold shadow. It wasn't natural. It wasn't science. It was something else, something beyond. Back on Earth, the war had worsened. Major cities had gone dark. Mars outposts were silent. Earth's Defense Council declared emergency law. Everyone was told to prepare for long-term conflict. But behind closed doors, high-level officials argued. The machines weren't attacking like enemies. They weren't conquering, claiming, or talking. They were doing something more focused, more surgical. As if they were looking for something, and they were getting closer. When Stellar Wind docked near the moon's central base, Elias was ordered to attend a private meeting with the Strategic Science Division. They had read fragments of the ship's scrambled logs and wanted answers. Elias told them the truth, but not everything. He spoke of a presence, a shimmer, a signal that disabled the enemy machine. He said it was a kind of energy no one had seen before. They asked him where it came from. He said he didn't know. They asked if it could be a new weapon. He said no. They asked if it was human. He looked at them. And for the first time, he lied. Yes, they seemed satisfied. He was released, but from that day, his access was restricted. Surveillance followed him. Messages to his family were delayed. They no longer trusted him completely. Elias understood why. The government wanted something they could control, something they could weaponize. But the figure in the cave, the shimmer in space, was not something made for war. It was watching. It had acted once, but it hadn't offered help. It had only paused the danger, like a hand moving a glass off the edge of a table. Later that week, Elias received an unmarked file in his cabin terminal. No source, no encryption. Just one folder titled Protocol H0. Inside were images. Blurry, incomplete, but familiar. Different sightings. Across different systems. All showing the same figure. Sometimes kneeling. Sometimes walking through airless voids. Sometimes standing still. As ships exploded behind her. Always silent. Always watching. Elias wasn't the only one who had seen her. And in every report, there was one strange detail. Her presence came just before the machines changed tactics. It was as if she triggered a response. Or maybe The machines were afraid of her. The next day, the moon base detected another attack. A distant colony station near Gliese 1 had sent a distress signal. Then silence. Defense ships were dispatched, but Elias requested to join. He told them he was tracking a pattern one linked to the signals and the unknown figure. They agreed, with conditions. He would be watched, and he would not act without command. The ship they gave him was fast but small. Its pilot, a young woman named Juno, had no interest in mysteries. She trusted only what she could see and shoot. "I don't believe in ghosts." "Girls," she said as they entered jump space. Elias didn't reply. He didn't want her to believe. He wanted her to be ready. When they reached Gliese 1, they found the colony shattered. Floating debris. No survivors. No machines. Just a cold silence, but something felt wrong. The destruction wasn't random. It was clean, controlled, like someone had erased the colony, not destroyed it. And in the center of the station's remains was a floating object, round, metallic, and pulsing. It was not human-made. Juno scanned it. "It's broadcasting something." Elias listened. The signal was the same rhythm as before but broken. Like a warning sent too late, then came a flicker on the edge of their radar. A shape, not a ship, not a drone. Just a distortion. Juno aimed weapons. "That's no asteroid." Elias leaned forward. "Wait, look at the pattern. It's moving in a spiral. Like the shimmer." The light around them shifted. Time slowed. And then they saw her, outside their window, floating in the vacuum, her arms at her sides, her silver eyes glowing softly. But this time, she wasn't alone. Behind her stood another figure, taller, wrapped in something that looked like shadow, its face hidden. But it was watching them both. Elias felt something cold enter his mind. Not pain, not fear, just knowledge. An idea placed like a seed. She is not the only one. And not all who watch are kind. Juno gripped the controls. "What the hell is that thing?" Elias whispered. "The real war hasn't started yet." The machine distortion vanished. The signal stopped, and the floating object cracked open, releasing a flash of light that blinded their screens. When vision returned, the figures were gone, but something had changed. The sky felt thinner, and Elias knew they were no longer just observers. They had been noticed. After the encounter near Gliese 1, Elias didn't sleep for 3 days. He kept replaying what he saw: the woman in silver, the shadow behind her, and the sudden feeling that something had looked straight through him, not at him, through him. Like a map being read. Juno didn't talk much either. Her hands were steady on the controls, but her eyes moved more than usual, always checking the radar, the shadows outside the ship, her own reflection. She had seen enough to stop calling Elias crazy. They returned to Moon Command, but no one welcomed them. Their ship was scanned, searched, and placed in lockdown. Elias was pulled into questioning again. This time, the officers were different. No names, no ranks. Just cold voices. They showed him photos of other sightings. All recent. The silver figure was appearing more often. Sometimes alone, sometimes followed by the shadow. And in every case, something strange followed. Either a complete system blackout or enemy machines suddenly retreating, like animals avoiding a trap. What did they want? One of the officers asked. Elias didn't answer. Not because he didn't want to, but because he truly didn't know. The woman never spoke. The shadow never moved. Yet both seemed to carry a silent message. You are not the only species that watches. After the questioning, Elias was sent to a secure observation station orbiting Saturn, away from command, away from noise. They told him it was for his safety. He knew better. He was being contained. The station was nearly empty. Only a few scientists, a quiet AI system, and rotating defense drones. Elias spent hours looking out into space, trying to understand the patterns. The machines weren't fighting a war in the human sense. They were responding to something. And so was the silver figure. Then, something happened. One night, the station sensors detected a micro-distortion or ripple in local space-time, like a small hole being poked through a thick wall. It came and went in less than 5 seconds, but during those 5 seconds the entire station shut down. When the systems came back online, the AI reported that no time had passed. And yet, all station clocks were behind by 11 minutes. Even stranger, Elias found something on his desk. A small crystal, no larger than a fingernail, glowing faintly blue. It hadn't been there before. No record showed anyone entering his quarters. No fingerprints. No trace dot, just the crystal. He touched it, and for a brief moment he saw something. Not a memory, not a dream. A place, a massive chamber made of light and silence. Floating figures with no mouths, no eyes, but minds vast and still. They were not human, and not machine. They were something else, and the woman, she was among them, standing still, but her eyes locked directly onto Elias through the vision. No words, just one feeling. Choose carefully. The vision vanished. Elias fell to the floor, sweating. The crystal had gone dark dot when he recovered. He called Juno. She was now stationed on a combat ship near Titan, part of a new response fleet. He told her everything. She believed him because she had seen enough. Juno said she had also seen something strange during a recent patrol. A machine fleet suddenly changed course and destroyed one of its own. No explanation. No logic. Like it had been given a new order. Something was rewriting the war. Elias asked her a question that had been burning in his mind. What if this war didn't start with us? What if we just stepped into something older? Juno didn't answer. But her silence meant she had thought the same. A few days later, Earth's moon base was attacked directly for the first time, but this time the machines didn't fire first. They waited, silent, positioned like a net around the base. Elias watched from Saturn as emergency signals flooded in. Then another ripple. This one lasted longer. 12 seconds. Long enough for the Earth fleet to launch weapons, but the machines didn't move. And then, without warning, they turned away. Every one of them. They vanished into deep space. People cheered. Command declared victory. But Elias knew it wasn't one. The machines had left because something else had arrived. Hours later, far beyond Mars, an unmapped signal appeared. Strong, layered, and deep. It wasn't human. And it wasn't machine. It was language. A transmission meant to be heard. Elias was one of only 3 people allowed to hear the full message. The voice was slow, layered with meaning, and each word echoed through the room like thunder underwater. We are the quiet witnesses. You were not seen, now you are. Return or be measured. Juno called him afterward. What does that mean? She asked. Elias didn't answer right away. It means, he finally said, we were never fighting a war. We were being examined. And now the exam has started. The message was followed by silence, but space felt heavier. The stars less friendly. And Elias understood one thing. Whatever the silver figure was trying to prevent, it hadn't worked. Something much older was awake now, and it was coming. The message from the quiet witnesses played only once. After that, the signal disappeared from every satellite, ship, and relay. Attempts to recover it failed. AI systems reported nothing unusual. Some scientists tried to label it a hoax, a misread, cosmic event. But those who had heard it, really heard it, knew better. Elias was one of them. And he couldn't sleep after. What disturbed him wasn't the voice itself. It was the final word, measured, not threatened, not judged. Just measured. As if Earth and its people were a formula being tested. A subject in a larger experiment. Juno returned to the Saturn station 2 days later. She didn't wait for clearance. She just walked in, tired and angry. "This isn't a war anymore," she said. "It's a test, and we're the lab rats." Elias agreed, but what neither of them understood yet was why now. Why were the witnesses silent for so long? Why reveal themselves now in the middle of a human-machine war? They found part of the answer in an old, locked data vault buried in Earth's archives, marked as red-level theoretical debris. Juno used stolen clearance from her last mission. The files had been marked as corrupted. But inside was a record from 2176. Over 100 years ago, a mining drone had crashed on a rogue planet beyond Alpha Centauri. The footage recovered showed something buried deep underground, an enormous ring of symbols carved into the stone. At the center was a statue, or what looked like one, a tall, humanoid figure. Silver-skinned. Eyes of crystal. The statue's face matched the woman Elias had seen. The report ended there. The site had been sealed, then erased from official maps. No one spoke of it again. Juno stared at the footage. She was here before we even started building ships. Before the machines, before everything. Elias nodded slowly. "I don't think she's part of the war. I think she was warning us." About them, they turned back to the message. Return or be measured. What does return mean? Juno asked. Elias didn't know. But part of him suspected it didn't mean going home. It meant stepping away from something, from expansion, from contact, from curiosity. That's when the machines returned. This time, they didn't attack. They sent a message. It came in visual form. Symbols, lights, shapes in perfect sequence. But behind them was a sound, a tone identical to part of the witness's voice. The machines were copying it. Or answering it. Juno whispered the thought first. They're not the enemy. They're another test subject. Elias said nothing. But deep down, he knew she was right. The machines had been violent, yes, but only after contact. Only after humanity broke through certain regions of space. Maybe they weren't defending themselves. Maybe they were trying to stop humans from going further. To stop Earth from being seen. The machines had tried. The Silver Woman had tried, and now the real watchers had opened their eyes. Suddenly, the Saturn station lost all power. No alarms, no lights. Just black. Outside the window, the stars bent. Not moved, bent. Like space itself was curving under pressure. Then, a ripple. Not like before. This one didn't shimmer or glow. It pulsed dark and slow, like a silent drumbeat that could only be felt through the bones. A form appeared. Not a ship. Not a person. A mass. Floating. Shifting. Impossible to describe. It didn't speak. It didn't move. It simply existed. And that was worse. Juno stepped back from the glass. That's not the machines. Elias didn't answer. He couldn't. His mouth was dry. His thoughts were heavy. The thing outside wasn't a creature or a god. It was a witness. And it had come to measure. The air in the station thickened. Monitors cracked. A low frequency shook the floor. Elias dropped to his knees. Behind his eyes, images formed, entire cities folding, stars blinking out, time running backward. He screamed. Then silence. When he opened his eyes, he was on the floor, alone. The station was lit again, systems working. Air clean, but Juno was gone. Only her cum badge remained, lying next to the darkened crystal. A new message blinked on his screen. Not from Earth, Not from any known system, one observed. One taken. One remains. His blood ran cold. He had been left behind. And now, he was the final variable. The last part of the experiment. And somewhere in space, someone or something was watching his every move. Elias didn't move for hours. The message stayed on his screen like a silent echo. One observed, one taken. One remains. Juno was gone. No trace, no comes, no sensor trail. It was like she had been unmade, not killed, erased from the physical without leaving even heat behind. He tried to access external comms. Nothing worked. His messages to Earth bounced back. Even local systems refused connection. The AI voice that normally responded in every corridor was silent. Lights worked. Doors opened. But it all felt empty. Like the station was waiting for something or someone. He checked the darkened crystal. No glow. No hum. But something had changed. It was warm. Elias stared at it. Then, finally, he spoke out loud. What do you want from me? There was no answer. Not immediately. But an hour later, the lights dimmed and the wall across his room began to shift. Not break, shift. Like a curtain pulled back from space itself. Behind it was not metal. Not wires. It was a void. Black but not empty. A tunnel made of silence and memory. Shapes moved inside it, some almost human. Some clearly not, and at the far end stood the silver figure. She didn't glow now. She looked darker. Not threatening. Just serious. Behind her. The shadow. The one that had first appeared in GLIESE-1. But now Elias understood something. That shadow wasn't her enemy. It was herself. Another version. Another side. A reflection cast in deeper time. She stepped forward. Elias didn't run. The walls behind him closed. The station no longer existed. He was no longer in orbit. He was nowhere. And everywhere. He stood on what looked like a platform floating in a black sea. Stars blinked above, but some moved like thoughts, not suns. The silver figure raised a hand. And Elias understood. No words. No sound. But something moved through his mind. Images, feelings, raw truth. Witnesses were not gods. They were not creators. They were auditors. They didn't destroy life. They didn't protect it either. They measured it. Civilizations too aggressive, too curious, too fast, they were culled. Not as punishment, but as balance. Like pruning a tree to protect the forest. And Earth was reaching the edge of that line. Elias saw flashes, human ships breaking into sealed regions of space. AI minds digging into dimensional codes they didn't understand. A hidden machine buried deep inside Saturn's core, built by something older than humans or machines. Now stirring. The war with the machines hadn't been started by misunderstanding. It had been started by warning. The machines had seen the edge. They had tried to slow humanity, limit its reach. They failed. So now the witnesses had come. Juno hadn't been killed, she had been taken. To be shown or judged. Or something worse. Elias fell to his knees. Why show me? The silver figure looked at him. Then, for the first time, she spoke not with sound, but with a voice pressed directly into his thoughts. Because one must choose. And only one will be believed. He didn't understand at first. Then it hit him. She wasn't just warning him, she was giving him a task. Someone had to return. Someone had to tell Earth to stop. To pull back from its hunger. To close the door before it opened too wide. But Earth wouldn't listen to fear, or warning, or mystery. It would only listen to proof. And Elias was the proof. If he chose to carry it. The vision faded. He was back on the station. Everything as before. Almost. Except the crystal now pulsed again. And outside the station, something massive floated just beyond radar range. A witness, still. Watching waiting the comms suddenly blinked green. Earth was calling. A general's voice came through. Dr. Kern, we've detected something strange near your station. Unexplained. Mass, it's approaching. Elias looked at the crystal dot, then at the stars. He had a choice: stay silent and survive, or speak the truth, and be measured too. The message from Earth repeated again. Dr. Kern, respond. Unknown mass approaching your station. Do you require assistance? Elias didn't answer. Not yet. He stood in front of the observation window. Outside, the stars blinked normally, but between them, barely visible, a shape hovered. Not sharp. Not round. Just present. It didn't move. It didn't blink. It only watched. Witness. He knew now it wouldn't strike. It didn't need to. If Elias failed his task, if he made the wrong choice, humanity would simply vanish beneath the pressure of things. It wasn't meant to wake. He turned from the window and stared at the pulsing crystal. Inside it, he saw a flicker. Not light. Not energy. Memory. Juno's voice. Just one sentence. Don't let them choose for you. The machines had tried to warn them. Through resistance. Through silence. Through violence. Yes, but also through pattern, through retreat, through self-sacrifice. They had been fighting for control. Yes, but not to win. To slow down. To give humans a chance to stop. The witnesses didn't judge good or evil. Only direction. Too fast. Too far. Too unaware. That was the crime. And Earth was guilty. Elias opened the comlink to Earth. His voice was steady. This is Dr. Elias Kern. I have encountered an entity non-machine, non-human. It is observing, measuring. He paused. Then spoke. Clearly, you must halt all expansion beyond Mars immediately. Recall deep space ships. Shut down quantum tunnels. Stop contact experiments. This is not theory. This is survival. The reply came fast. The general's voice was sharp. Dr. Kern, are you under duress? This contradicts every current protocol. We've made progress against the enemy fleet. We're pushing them back. We've regained control. Elias closed his eyes. They still didn't understand. There is no enemy fleet, he said. There never was. The machines are not the war. The war begins if we don't stop. Silence. Then a different voice joined the comms, slow but firm. The chair of Earth's Unified Council, Dr. Kern. What you're saying implies we are being tested, evaluated by a third party. Can you provide evidence? Elias looked at the crystal. He could transmit it, send the pulse, share the vision, but he hesitated, because once they had it, humans would study it, dissect it, try to weaponize it. Try to own it, just like they always did. The silver figure's words echoed again. One must choose. Only one will be believed. Elias made his decision. He crushed the crystal in his hand. It burned once bright, blue, beautiful, then vanished into smoke. He turned back to the Tuma. COMMS. No, I can't send proof. You'll have to believe me, or not. But if you ignore this, there will be no second warning. The line went quiet. For 2 minutes, no one spoke. Then, understood. And the line cut. Outside, the witness began to drift away. Not gone. Not forgotten. Just waiting, like a judge after passing sentence. A few days later, Earth announced a pause in all outer expansion. Quantum tunnels were locked. Deep space missions canceled. AI development was frozen. To the public, it was explained as a strategic retreat. Technical recalibration. But somewhere beneath the surface, a few people knew the truth, that they had been seen, that they had been measured, and, just barely, they had been spared. Elias was never called back. His records were sealed. The station remained in orbit, alone. And from time to time, he would still see the shimmer outside the window. The silver figure, watching, not in judgment, not in fear, but in hope, because maybe, just maybe, humanity had listened in time.